Welcome to the Sea Log, the world's number one Royal Caribbean podcast that's recorded in Houston, Texas, in a hotel room by two people, Sean and Kat. For those of you who are new, which is probably a good chunk of you, these podcasts used to be only sent out to our YouTube channel members. But starting next year, we're actually going to make them available to everyone that watches our channel. And we're also going to push these out to the audio podcasting platforms like Apple and Spotify. And the way these podcasts work is on the last Sunday of every month, unless we're on a cruise ship, we post these and we talk about, in the beginning, we talk about Royal Caribbean news for the past month and the upcoming month. And in this episode, because it's the last episode of the year, we're actually going to talk about major events that happened in 24, and in 25 that are upcoming for Royal Caribbean. In the middle, we have some sort of a theme. And for this episode, we're going to talk about the specialty dining restaurants on Royal Caribbean ships. And to end it all off, we answer your questions. And we had more questions sent in than we can answer in this episode. So we picked a handful of them. And the interesting thing is, there were 3 or 4 that asked about specialty dining. And that's why we picked that for this episode's theme. And at the very end of this episode, we're actually going to talk about the upcoming cruises we're going on in 2025. In other words, the videos we'll be making, and also a sneak peek into 2026. So let's go. All right, so let's start this off by talking about the major stories from 2024 for Royal Caribbean. Now, there's obviously a lot of news. There's actually some sad news about things that happened. I just want to cover the happier sort of things, considering the time of year it is. The first and probably the biggest was the launch of the Icon of the Seas back in January of 2024. We have not been on Icon yet, and actually, I'm going on Icon with Jim. If you've watched our channel for any length of time, you know who he is, in February. Yeah, in February, the end of February. Kat, however, is going to see family. And hopefully we can go on it again because I'm so looking forward to it. So the Icon of the Seas currently is the largest cruise ship in the world. It's has a 1,700 square foot water park. That'll be fun.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it has a family neighborhood. So if you've been on an Oasis class ship, the boardwalk area is now considered the family neighborhood. It can accommodate 5,610 passengers, has 7 pools on it, and it has 2,350 crew members. Yeah, that sounds great. And I've seen a lot of videos and other people, other YouTube channels talking about it, and I just can't wait. In September, my birth month, Royal Caribbean's Ultimate World Cruise finally came back. There was around 650 people that went for the entire cruise, and it went to all 7 continents. It's crazy. 60 countries. One of these
That'd be a
days.
price tag.
Yeah, it's very expensive. One of the questions that we're gonna read in a bit, we're gonna talk about a little bit of our history, but, um, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, we started a savings account just to pay for a world cruise so we could do it. Uh, what that turned into was completely different. It didn't go as far as around the world, but we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, next, the financial situation for Royal Caribbean stock. If you happen to buy Royal Caribbean during the COVID time, or you purchased it like right after COVID, then you made quite a bit of money. So the record high this year for Royal Caribbean was $258.70 a share. And I think during COVID, it was down in
Like
the
$13.
yeah, 13 to 20 bucks.
think.
I don't know. I think 13 might have been Norwegian, but they
Can't
were
remember.
all of them were very low. But think about it. If you want to get the shareholder benefit, in other words, get free money on the cruise ships, you have to own on Royal Caribbean ships anyway. You have to own 100 shares of Royal Caribbean's stock. And that would be, if you were going to buy it now, that would be $25,870 to have 100 shares. That's crazy. But anyway, it went up 76% in earnings per share in 2024. It's crazy. Next, Allure of the Seas, which was the very first Icon class ship we've been on. That is being uh, refitted, refurbished, and it's going to come back and start Caribbean and Bahama cruises in November of 2025, but it's actually coming back into service sometime over the summer, which will be nice. We love Allure of the Seas. I hope they don't take the fountain out. For again, if you've been on an Oasis class ship, the Rising Tide Bar, Lure actually shoots water up underneath it, which is pretty cool. We also introduced so Allure is going in for the refurbishment in 2024. It's coming out in 2025. We also, Royal Caribbean introduced Utopia of the Seas, which does 3 and 4 day itineraries. We are actually going on that in April.
Yes.
And we're going to do Universal and make a week
Kind of
out
a
of it.
pain for 3 days, 4 days, but we'll see.
Yeah, this is what's funny. We actually booked this so that we could go to the new specialty dining restaurant, the railroad, the train car restaurant, and Royal Caribbean's very finicky about when they start taking reservations for it, and we still have not been able to make reservations for it. So I hope, I mean, the cruise is still going to be great, but I hope we don't end up going on the cruise without being able to go to that. That would not be great. Also, Royal Caribbean announced this year that they're expanding the Icon class fleet. Star of the Seas will be out in 2025, and the third and fourth ships are planned for 26 and 27. So basically, we're going to get a new Icon class ship once a year. All right. Next, let's talk a little bit about 2025. I already mentioned this. Allure of the Seas is supposed to be back over the summer. And as I said, it's going to be doing the Caribbean and Bahama cruises. Also, Royal Caribbean extended their itinerary to a new port, which is Cabo Rojo, which is in the Dominican Republic. So Kat and I used to go down to the Dominican Republic for all inclusives. There's a lot of fun things to do on Dominican Republic. It's half of an island, so one half is Haiti, the other half is Dominican Republic. We actually went to a series of waterfalls and swam and jumped and everything that you probably shouldn't do down them. Don't worry, we had a guide.
Oh
And
man, the mosquitoes. Oh, they were brutal. If you weren't in the water, you were getting chewed.
yeah, the mosquitoes were pretty.
Oh,
We actually we had to hike up to the top of the stream, and we were like the first two people up to the top, and we started getting eaten alive. So we both laid down in the stream, so just our nose and our mouth
oh,
were out of the water and breathing that way, so that we wouldn't get eaten. But that was amazing. In the very end, you float down the stream, and there's like 30 or 50-foot tall cliffs on both sides of you, and it's narrow, like you could reach out and touch both sides. Yeah, that was pretty
yeah,
amazing.
and the guide would jump in the water with his video camera, and it never went under the
Yeah, he had a
It was
regular like an SLR
amazing.
camera, and he would jump off the waterfalls and somehow not have his camera go underwater. That was pretty neat. One thing I'm really looking forward to is the Royal Beach Club, which is in the Bahamas on Paradise Island. It's scheduled to open in December 2025. I don't know if that's true. That's what Royal Caribbean's webpage claims, but I've heard rumors that it's going to open sooner than that. And basically, what it is a VIP beach day. It's not like Coco K. It's not included. You do have to pay extra, but it's all inclusive. So you get your drinks and food and all that. It's 17 acres. And if you've ever been in the port in the Bahamas and Paradise Island, it's that little strip of land that's right across from it. And you actually take a water taxi from the pier over. And it has beaches and pools. There's 2 beaches and 3 swimming pools. There's swim up bars and cabanas. There's barbecues and live music. And they have a party cove, quote, for guests seeking a lively atmosphere. Yeah, but it is extra, as I said. Okay, let's talk about specialty dining restaurants. Actually, let me bring the list up. And as I said in the beginning, we get a lot of questions about the specialty dining restaurants, and we've never actually covered it as a theme on this podcast because whenever we travel together, a lot of times we have guests that come with us. And when that happens, we don't go to specialty dining restaurants. Typically, we go to the Windjammer or one of those smaller restaurants. And when I travel by myself, I typically go to the specialty dining restaurants. So I've been to most of them, and Kat hasn't. So because of that, we really haven't talked about it. But we finally decided, because we got so many questions this month about specialty dining restaurants, to go through them. And again, a lot of this is just going to be my opinion because Kat hasn't been. But the ones that she has, I'm sure she'll have a lot to say about it. Uh, Originally, we were going to do the top 5, where we were basically going to decide which ones were the best. And unfortunately, other than one of them, Kat hasn't been to any of them, so that didn't work either. But let's start with our number one favorite specialty dining restaurant, which alphabetically happens to be the first one on the list, which is 150 Central Park. It is on the Oasis class ships in Central Park, and it is the upscale hoity-toity specialty dining restaurant that Royal Caribbean has. They really have 2 unique things that some of the other restaurants, or the other restaurants, don't have, which is they have an urban martini that they make right in the restaurant in front of you. Uh, it's an acquired taste. And they also have a cheese
Bored.
board. They basically have a cart that has a whole bunch of cheeses on it, and they'll really good cheeses. I'm not talking about like in Giovanni's where they'll bring out like Swiss cheese or something. They're very high quality cheeses, imported cheeses, and they'll cut them up, put them on a plate, and bring them out to you. Typically, that's done after you're done eating. But here's our tip. When we go to 150 Central Park, we order the urban martinis, and we ask the waiter to bring the cheese to us first instead of last. So we sit there, drink our martinis, and eat our cheese. They bring, crackers out, and there's usually some honey and some walnuts or pecans or something. Um, and then other than that, the menu is outstanding. It's a somewhat pricey, especially dining restaurant, but it's the menu. They have venison, and it's to die for. It's very, very good. They have scallops that are outstanding. They have all sorts of things on the menu that are really good. So if you're looking for a very upscale, uh, fancy restaurant, best waiters and waitresses in Royal Caribbean so far that we've been to have been in 150 Central Park. It's an outstanding restaurant.
Yeah, very good. That's about it.
That's it.
I like the Windjammer just because I like picking at different things. That's all.
Oh, all right. Moving on.
And I don't like dressing up, so
Well, you don't have to
I don't
dress
think
up.
you had to for this one though.
Well,
You
I
couldn't
think
go
that's a
in your, short shorts or anything like that. You had to look
yeah. Everyone that's
business
in there
casual.
is typically dressed. I think that's actually a question we have today about dress code. So let's talk about that then. Next one is Chops Grill. And Chops Grill, for me, is I don't understand why so many people love Chops Grill. Now, if you go to Chops and you get the filet mignon, it's good. Maybe actually I should say the filet is outstanding. The problem with Chops Grill for us is the appetizers are eh, like average, very average. And if you get a cut of meat other than the filet, I've tried several other cuts of meat from Chops, and they were all not good. And I mean, I don't want to, I'm not like bashing Chops Grill. I know it's a lot of people's favorite restaurant in Royal Caribbean. The service is outstanding. The restaurant is always packed. As I said, the filet is very, very good. However, compared to 150 Central Park, the appetizers are horrible. And the price is pretty much the same on most cruises. So, what about there was fish? Did you like the fish
Yeah,
when you went?
I like the fish.
Yeah, the fish was pretty good, but I had the lamb the last time I went, and it was so grizzly and it wasn't edible. And then I also had, I don't remember what I had for an appetizer. I had something, oh, it was thick sliced bacon, which so it was like this thick. No, it was just not good at all. Okay, moving on. Our next one that is not really our favorite. So there's two Giovanni's restaurants, especially dining restaurants on Royal Caribbean. Giovanni's Italian Kitchen and Giovanni's Table. We have yet to go to a Giovanni's Italian Kitchen, but we will be in 2025. Now, Giovanni's Table is, I don't know if Kat will agree with me on this, but it's my
Probably not.
least favorite out of all the specialty dining restaurants. And here's why. The food is very good, and that's about it. I don't know if they use Giovanni's Table to train the wait staff, but our wait staff has been horrible. And we've gone to Giovanni's quite a few times. The last time we went on Voyager of the Seas, the transatlantic, uh, we had no idea who our waiter was because every single time someone came to the table, it was a different person, which meant they would forget about us for a long time. We actually had a waiter throw the cheese tray at me because he was upset that I wanted more than one, charcuterie board because there was four of us at the table. And he got upset and he chucked it on the table and the meat went flying everywhere. Yeah, he got a nice little talking to by the head waiter, but our service in Giovanni's Table has been atrocious. If that ever happened at a real restaurant, I would either have walked out or I would have gone and talked to the manager. It's just, it- again, the food, very good. I actually, the steak that they serve in Giovanni's Table, I think actually has a better taste than the filet that they offer in Chops. But the service has just always been bad. You don't agree with me?
I never agree with you.
Oh,
I didn't. He got upset one time, but
but the last time we went, we never saw the same person for
no,
our table.
that is true.
Yeah, it was never the
The
same person.
first time we went, it was pretty much just us and another table, and the waiter was not there. He would come and then go, and he'd get our drinks, and then
Yeah, but remember the very first time we went, we ordered. I said I want because when you go out of Galveston, so the first time we went was on a lure to Giovanni's Table, and when you leave Galveston, there's a restricted drink menu because on the ship, you while you're still in U.S. waters, they can only serve liquor that comes from Texas distributors or something to that effect. And because of that, I said, are we still under the restriction? And I don't remember what he said, but basically I said, okay, well, can I see a list then of what we can order? And he's like, "Well, you can order anything you want." And I said, "Okay, but I would like to see a list." And he got all upset about it. And then finally, I think he realized the mistake he made, because then for the rest of the day, he was really nice. And he actually gave us a free dessert drink at the
Coffee,
end
yeah, it was
and
the
all
coffee.
that. He handmade it. But yeah, in the very beginning, he was
Yeah,
just
he was
not very friendly at all.
and there was only 2
Yeah,
tables.
it was just us and one other table.
'Cause
Anyway, I'm sure we're going to hear about that with Chops, because Chops and Giovanni's table are really quite
popular?
popular. We are going to do a review of Giovanni's Italian Kitchen shortly when we go on, not next cruise, but it's on one of our earlier cruises. Next, this is a restaurant that Kat hasn't been to, and it's Hooked Seafood. I've heard a lot of negative comments about Hooked on the internet and on YouTube. Hooked is a seafood restaurant. That's what they specialize in. So if you are going to go there and you don't eat seafood, don't complain. It's a seafood restaurant. But I think it's very, very good. They have fresh oysters. They have lobster. Now, is it the best seafood I've ever had? No, but it's very good for a cruise ship. And typically, the Hooked restaurants have nice views when you go to them. Never had a problem. I usually get I don't know what it's called, Captain's Platter, which basically has a several different seafood. It has lobster and fish and everything. The funny thing is, so I went there once, and there was this lady sitting at a table somewhat next to me, and she ordered the lobster. She got it and she didn't like it, so she sent it back, said, "I want another one." They bring her a second one. "I don't like this, I want to talk to the chef." Comes out, and she starts talking about the fact that the lobster isn't rubbery and chewy and everything. And the chef's just like, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I'll go cook it for you again." Comes back out and gives her one that actually is rubbery and chewy. And so I called Kat up, because she's from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and they, lots of lobster up there. And she eats a lot of lobster. And I'm like, "I didn't think lobster was supposed to be rubbery and chewy." And she's like, "Yeah, no, it's not. That's just how it is when it's overcooked or not
Or
cooked correctly
frozen.
or frozen." So the chef must have gone back and overcooked the lady's lobster, because here I am enjoying my lobster. It's tasting exactly like it should taste, and she's complaining about it. But yeah, if you like seafood, Hook Seafood's the way to go. Next is Izumi. We have not, well, kind of a love hate. So Izumi, depending on the Izumi and on the ship that you're on, sometimes Izumi is just basically a sushi restaurant, and sometimes there's two restaurants in Izumi, which is the hibachi, where they cook the food in front of you, and then the sushi sort of restaurant. So let's talk about both of them separately first. First of all, let's talk about the hibachi. The food is very good. The staff is fantastic, and they're very entertaining. However, two things. They can't use fire, so there's no erupting volcanoes if you've done that before, and its price. This is why we don't go to the hibachi on Royal Caribbean. Right now, and we're going to tell you where we are for one of the questions, but right now, within 10 miles of us, there's probably 4 or 5 hibachi restaurants that will have as good, if not better, food for probably $20 cheaper, and they can do the whole fire thing. So our point is, why not just do that when you're at home and instead do something that's different on a cruise ship?
Yeah. I don't like food thrown at me.
Yeah, and they were really
Don't
big into making you catch it. Most hibachi restaurants, if you say no, they back off, and when they try to throw it in your mouth. The last time we went, the guy insisted. He's like, "You must do this." I mean, he was joking around, right? But he just kept pushing Kat, and she didn't. She doesn't like it
no,
because
not a
I caught mine and she didn't catch hers.
no, I'm not not a dog.
Well,
Mm,
okay, now let's talk about the other side. I have a slightly different opinion than Kat does on this. So I think on the sushi side, the sushi rolls are above average. I think they're very good. The sushi is very fresh. However, anything that's not sushi is, for most of the time, is not very good. For example, their ramen is not good. Now, yes, maybe you people go and they're like, "Oh, this is pretty good." Well, if you've ever been to a real ramen restaurant or to Japan or anything that's pretty authentic, the ramen on the cruise on in Nizumi is not good. The udon is not good. That's another noodle, by the way. Um, so that stuff isn't good. But the sushi, the rolls, all that, outstanding. Now, you said in the last video that we just put up that you thought the sushi was average.
Mhm.
So you the whole thing in general?
Yeah, we get the we eat sushi here in Houston, so it's about the same.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
it's about the same. It depends on where the Izumi is. Like, if you're on a ship and Izumi's looking out over the water and it's got a great view, it's reasonably
Yeah,
priced
it makes
and
it.
it's a good break from the crowds. Especially if you wait and see one of the waiters walking around with a menu because they didn't sell out and they're willing to give you a discount and everything. By all means, the sushi is fantastic. Okay, next, Jamie's Italian. She hasn't been. I love Jamie's Italian. Every single time I've been to Jamie's, the wait staff has been outstanding. The food is great. They bring you as, I mean, I know they do this at the other, for the most part, at the other ones, they'll bring you as much food as you want, but man, Jamie's is great. And one of the things that I love about Jamie's is they have grappa, which is a liqueur uh, after dinner, kind of like a cognac, but it's actually made out of the skin and seeds after they're done making wine out of the grapes. I love it. And the fact that they have it on the menu is fantastic. You can order several dishes of pasta, and the pasta is amazing, freshly made. Can't say enough about Jamie's. And we're going on a cruise in a week and a half, and there's a Jamie's on that ship. So I'll be introducing her to Jamie's. Johnny Rockets. Now, Johnny Rockets is hamburgers and fries and milkshakes. And if Johnny Rockets is open for, it costs extra unless they're open for breakfast. If they're open for breakfast, that is included. And breakfast is great, it's free. So you can go in and have like an egg and bacon sandwich, stuff like that, smaller
It's a
foods.
limited menu.
Yeah, very limited. But and here is the reason, if for no other reason, to go to Johnny Rockets for breakfast. They have a bacon maple syrup milkshake with big chunks of bacon sticking out of the top. Uh,
Diabetes.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Yum. Now they do charge for that, but it's like $2.50 or something. Also, so later on in the afternoon and in the evening, lunch and dinner, it is an extra fee. But keep in mind, you can go in and order milkshakes. You don't have to eat a whole meal to do that. And if you've been on more than one cruise with Royal Caribbean, you actually get discounts on Johnny Rockets milkshakes. You get a certain number depending on your Crown and Anchor status. If you have the drink package, which we never get, but you can get Johnny Rocket milkshakes on that as well. All right, moving on to probably my second favorite restaurant. And again, Kat is going to be going to this on Utopia in April, which is the Mason Jar. The Mason Jar is Southern inspired food. So you can get like chicken pot pie and pecan pie and apple crisp or apple pie with
Ice cream.
ice cream and all the stuff that you would think of when you think of southern cooking. But oh my goodness, I had the chicken pot pie the last time I went and it's great. Now, is it 150 Central Park food? No, it isn't, but it's laid back. There's a bar in there with live music. And if you're a beer drinker, there's a bourbon barrel aged, no, not aged, you don't age beer, but basically they put the beer in a bourbon, you know, barrel that's bourbon soaked into. Oh, outstanding. And it's a great place to hang out and just look out over the water, listening to live music if you're into that. You don't have to go to the restaurant to go to the bar. So if you're on a ship and you don't want to do the specialty dining and they have a mason jar, just go up to the bar and hang out. Jim, the person that's going on Icon with me, and his wife Cheryl, they were on Wonder of the Seas, and they don't do specialty dining at all. And they went to the Mason Jar Bar and hung out there all the time. Okay, Playmakers. Playmakers is a sports bar. And just think about going to a sports bar. What kind of chicken fingers and chicken wings and
Nice.
pizza and fries, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's good for the value. Is the food great? No, it's bar food, but you do have to pay for it. It's a la carte. You pay by the item, which by the way, that's what a Zoomies is. There's two ways of buying a Zoomies, the Japanese restaurant. The sushi side, you can pay per item or you can pay a flat fee and then you get a certain number of items. For the most part, in our opinion, pay as you go because the sushi rolls are actually bigger and you don't have to eat something you don't want to eat really. But the thing that I'm not happy about Playmakers is it tends to be taking over Sabor, which is the Mexican restaurant. I understand why Playmakers exists on the Oasis class ships, but it's too bad they can't just move Sabor someplace else because Sabor, which is our next restaurant, is a Mexican restaurant offering little small dishes of all these different Mexican dishes, and we love it.
I love Mexican food. It just doesn't love me.
But what's really nice is you order like a gazillion things and they're little itty bitty plates and you can share. So if you have like four people, you can order like the entire menu and you have all these different things that you can, and it's by far the best for the money because it's so cheap. It's like $35 compared to what, $69
Yeah.
for 150 Central Park. And their margaritas at Sabor are the best on any Royal Caribbean ship. Now I know you can get margaritas made in other bars. Maybe it's just the atmosphere of where you're sitting, but I personally believe they're the best on Royal Caribbean. Outstanding.
Uh-huh.
Do you like the margaritas? Yeah, it's a margarita. Okay. Next, Samba Grill. So this is an interesting one. This is Brazilian steakhouse, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's two of them, one on Allure and one on Alaska Cruise, Radiance of the Seas. Uh, and you might as well call them two different things because one was great and one was horrible. So the one in Allure, now I don't even know if it's going to be there after they redo the ship, but the one in Allure is in the Solarium Bistro, the little restaurant that's in the Solarium, and it's there for dinner time. So at dinner time, that's what's in that restaurant. And it's like a regular Brazilian style barbecue. They bring the skewers out and they carve it off and put it on your plate because there's a salad bar that you can go up to in the beginning. So think smaller version of any Brazilian barbecue you've been to. Very good. It's worth it, 100%. However, oh my God,
Allure?
uh, no, the other one, the Alaska one, Radiance.
Yeah,
On Radiance of the Seas, it's so small and
I don't remember.
they don't bring out the skewer. They just come out and say, how would you like this meat? So they have all the meats basically in the order they would bring them out to you, but they don't bring them out. They just ask you how you want it cooked. And then they just cook a piece of meat in the back and they bring it out and give it to you. Yeah, no. And there was no salad bar. They just brought you out some like appetizers. Was it good? Yes. But was it a Brazilian style
Steakos?
steakhouse? Absolutely not. So okay, and the last one we're going to talk about, and I know there's others, but remember, we haven't been to all of these, is Wonderland. Wonderland, let me say this. If you've never been to Wonderland and you want an experience, go and you'll have a lot of fun. After you go once, probably never go back again. So I've been a few times to Wonderland. The first time I went, I absolutely loved it. Now, I don't know if the food was as great as I remembered, or if it was just great because the atmosphere and the Mad Hatter walking around and how unique it was made me think, oh, this is really cool. Because the second time I went back, I still thought everything was really cool, but the food didn't taste as good. Now, it wasn't that it didn't taste good, it just wasn't food that I normally would eat. Like, for example, they have a test tube of tomato juice that you drink, and I don't like tomato juice. But the first time I had it, I thought this is really cool. It's in a test tube. They had some of the other things I had for appetizers, like I don't even remember. But yeah, the first time you go, fantastic. It's worth going. The drinks are unique. The food is really unique, but it's food that you would probably never eat again because it's so unusual. So, you've never been? No comments?
Nope.
Uh, I'll have to take her one time just so she can
I'll go
experience
by
it.
myself.
No, you're going by yourself. Okay. Time for emails. All right, so we have, I think, 6 emails. Let's go through these. The first one is from Linda H. It says, "Hello, travelers." Now, remember, if you want your question answered, you can just send us a question at connect at third, that's 3rd, orbittravelers.com. And Linda writes, "I've been following your channel for about a year now, and I just have to say your Let's Cruise series has been a lifesaver." Thank you. "My husband and I just booked our third Royal Caribbean cruise, and we're officially part of the Crown and Anchor Society. Do you have any tips on how to get the most out of your benefits? We're hoping to level up as quickly as possible. Thank you again for your awesome content. It's clear you two love what you do. It really shows." Linda. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Crown and Anchor. Here's the biggest tip. Well, I'll give you 2 tips that you can have for Crown and Anchor. One is bring a sheet or a card that lists out your benefits for your level. Even to this day, Kat and I consistently don't use
Use.
all of our benefits.
Yeah.
There are, like, for example, like 50% off Johnny Rockets milkshakes. We
I don't,
forget to do that all the time. There's quite a few things. Now, I will put a link in the description that will guide you to. We have these cards. They're like little, you can print them out. They're like index card size. And you just, for whatever level you are. So if you're gold, print the gold card out. If you're platinum, you went on 3 cruises, you're gold. So print the gold card out and actually, yeah. And then there'll be a checklist and just check everything off as you're going. That way you won't miss because we always miss things. And number 2, as soon as you hit platinum, you will start getting extra benefits and go to them. Like, for example, there's a top tier event that you can go to once you're platinum. If it's on the smaller ships, so in other words, there's no water theater, aqua theater, I should say, you'll get tons of champagne. Uh, Kat and I went once. Was that Voyager where we drank so much?
I
Oh
love
my
it.
God. Every time the waiter would go by, I'd grab champagne and we would drink them and put them under our seat. And he knew that we were doing that. We probably both had like 7 or 8 glasses of
I
champagne.
think more.
We were so intoxicated when we left. And we don't drink that much.
Oops.
But if you go to the Aqua Theater, so if it's on an Oasis class ship, the good thing about that is you'll get a bigger show. So you'll get, they'll do a little water show, they'll fly around and all that, jump off their diving boards. However, you typically get like 1 glass of champagne and that's it. But so that's it. Make sure to bring a checklist, link in the description, and make sure that you go to the events. Now, when you get higher up, there's behind the scenes, like Diamond level gets a behind the scenes thing in the main theater. So if it's a musical, you get to go see their sets and everything. The only reason I haven't put any of that on the channel is because they don't allow you to take pictures or videos. So if you get really high up, if you're Diamond Plus, there's usually a meeting with the captain. If you're Pinnacle, then there's usually a private thing with the captain. So it depends on the ship you're on, how long the cruise is, but you do get other benefits. Okay, the next one is from Jason. Jason M. He says, "Hey, Sean and Kat. First off, thanks for the amazing videos. Your ship tours have been a huge help in planning our trips, specifically which ship to pick." Very nice. That is one thing I'll say. You know, a lot of times people will go on cruises and they say, "Oh, I hated it." Well, maybe it's the class of ship you went on, because there are people that hate the larger ships that we've talked to. They only like the small Royal Caribbean ships. And then there are people that hate the small ships and only like the big ships. And then there's people like Kat and I that like all of the ships. So for us, it's more about where the ships go and how many sea days. We determine we don't like sea days that much. Anyway, back to his question. I have a question for you. What's the best way to find killer deals on Royal Caribbean cruises? Are there specific times of the year or tricks you guys swear by? P.S. Sean, my wife my my wife and I started saying "can't beat it" every time we find a good deal now. Our little nod to you. So if you haven't watched a lot of our videos, Kat always picks on me because I say "can't beat it" all the time. All right. So best question. What is the best way to find killer deals on Royal Caribbean? This is what you need to do. If you're using a travel agent or if you're booking it yourself, it doesn't matter. You need to book the cruise as soon as absolutely possible. So if you know there's a cruise you want to go on, the second it becomes available, you need to book it. Chances are that will be the cheapest you will ever find it. Now, what about Black Friday? That's what everyone says. Well, if it comes to Black Friday and it's cheaper and you haven't made it to the final payment date yet and paid your final payment, you can call Royal Caribbean up if you're doing it yourself or have your travel agent do this, and they will get you the better price. So it can only go down. It's never going to go up. So and if you have a good travel agent, they'll check it for you on a regular basis. But needless to say, book it ahead of time. There was a cruise. We were going to go to Norway, and we decided while we were on a cruise that we wanted to do this. It was one that went all the way up to the northern tip of Norway. And we looked at the price. We went in, we talked to them, and I said, we got to check with work because we both work for the same company. We got to check it with work and make sure it's okay. What I should have done is we should have booked it in with a refundable deposit, but we didn't. And we waited 2 weeks, maybe a little more, but it wasn't 3 weeks. It was like maybe 2.5 weeks, and then finally decided to do it. Went on, and it was about $1,200 more for the same cabin type, same everything. The cheapest we could find in that cabin type, which was a balcony, unobstructed view, and it was like $1,200 more. So yes, book it as quickly as possible. Okay, the next one comes from Dave S. Sean and Kat. Big fan here. I watched all of your Let's Cruise videos. Hope you enjoyed them. And they've been such a great way to prepare for our first Royal Caribbean trip. I've been hearing a lot about the Royal Up program, and I'm curious, what's your take on it? Any insider tips for getting an upgrade, or is it really just the luck of the draw? Thank you for everything you do. Your videos are both entertaining and informative. Um, all right. A couple things about Royal Up. If you win, it's like winning the lottery. So is there a way to game the system and always win? No, but I can give you some pointers that may or may not help. So first of all, when you do Royal Up, never bid on a cabin that's the same category that you're in. For example, if you're in have a balcony already, do not bid on a spacious balcony. We did that once, and what a freaking nightmare. So we bid on, and I did it accidentally. I never do that. I know not to do that, but I accidentally bid on it for some strange reason, and we won. And Jim and Cheryl were on that cruise with us. That was actually Adventure of the Seas. And our balcony was an extra foot and a half wide. And the worst part is our cabin was a connecting cabin. So we heard our neighbors the entire cruise. So never book in the same category. So if you have a balcony, bid on a junior suite or higher. If you have a ocean view, bid on a balcony or higher. If you have an inside cabin, bid on uh,
Anything.
yeah, anything above you, right? Don't bid on a spacious inside cabin if those
Oh,
even exist. Yeah, Cat doesn't like inside cabins. So what I've found, now think about the distribution of the number of these cabins. There are a ton of inside cabins and ocean view cabins. There are less balconies, there's less junior suites, and there's less everything above. You have a much better chance of winning a Royal Up if you are in an inside cabin and you bid on a higher level. And I have done that a lot of times. If I'm going to go on a cruise by myself, remember, I have to pay double. If Cat doesn't go, I still have to pay the same amount. It's double, except for taxes. That's the only thing. I don't pay taxes for the second imaginary person. And I always do Royal Up, and every single time I've done it, I have won. So if you're going from an inside cabin, the chances of winning are much better than if you're trying to royal up from a balcony. We try roiling up from our balcony every time we have it, and we have never won. And as I said, every time I've done it from an inside cabin, I've won. And I don't do the maximum bid. What I do is I go up a little bit to what I think is worth upgrading, and I don't pick a whole number. So if the bid was $300, I go like to $305, something like that. But in the end, it's totally like you're winning the lottery. I wish I could have given, I wish I knew a secret. I wouldn't give it to you if I did. No, I would. But I wish I had a secret because, yeah, it's a great way to get a better cabin. Just don't make the mistake we did and bid on something in the same class. Okay, next. This one's from Sarah. Uh, Look what it says. So in the subject line, it says, please have Cat read this. Sean talks too much. Thanks, Sarah. Go ahead.
hi, Kat and Sean. First, thank you so much for your videos. They've been a huge help for the first timer like me. I have a question about formal nights on Royal Caribbean. How strict are they really? I want to look nice, but don't want to overdo it or feel out of place. Any advice would be awesome. You two are the best. Thanks for making cruising so much less intimidating for newbies like me. I'm still a newbie.
Oh, please.
So,
Okay. Formal nights. Everyone has questions about formal nights. If you have been on cruises for a long time, formal nights back in the day were formal nights. You were expected to dress up. And on some cruise lines, like the Queen Mary that goes basically across the ocean in transportation, when they say formal nights, they mean formal nights and you dress up. Royal Caribbean. If you don't go to the main dining room, and here's an interesting little bit of trivia. Kat and I have never eaten in the main dining room other than the chef's table. Ever.
no, we did on the key,
Yeah. So on
for
the
the
key,
key,
I'm talking about the regular thing.
but to go eat,
Yeah,
no.
no. So if you are going to the main dining room, that's where the dress code matters. So if they say you have to dress up, you need to dress up. Now, are there people that go in there that aren't dressed up? Yes, but it depends on the staff and whether or not they're going to make a big deal out of it. Every other place on the ship during formal night, you don't have to be dressed up. Now, what about the specialty dining restaurants? If you go to 150 Central Park, I think it says business casual or smart something or other. In other words, you should dress up for 150 Central Park. Yeah, they don't care. There, I'll come back to that. When we were on a lure and went to the Brazilian barbecue. It was formal night. We both dressed up. Now, you can dress up if you want, and we do sometimes. Well, we don't anymore. We're lazy now. But we used to dress up in formal nights. Um, we went to the Brazilian barbecue, and a girl showed up in a bikini top and shorts. And every like 70% of the people in the restaurants had suits and gowns on, and the rest of them had normal clothes, and then she was in a bikini top and shorts. And no one said anything to her. In 150 Central Park, they're not going to say anything to you either. However, you will stick out like a sore thumb. Most people that go to 150 Central Park, I wear a collared shirt and a pair of pants. And that's it. And I might even wear jeans as long as I have a nice collared shirt on. They're never going to say anything to you. So you don't have to dress up. And that goes for the chef's table too. That's probably the most formal thing on most Royal Caribbean ships. And I've seen people show up in t-shirts and shorts for that, and they never say anything. So it all depends on how much you want to stick out. If you want to stick out like a sore thumb, then yeah, go to 150 Central Park in a t-shirt and shorts, and you're going to get people looking at you. But for the most part, Royal Caribbean is very laid back. I wish they would, personally, I wish they'd either get rid of formal nights or actually enforce it. They need to not say that, oh, you have to dress up, and then not enforce anything. Now, yes, they do say if you don't go to the main dining room, you don't have to dress up, but there is a dress code on the specialty dining restaurants on the webpage. If there's not a dress code, don't put it on the webpage. But anyway. Okay, next. This is from Avi. Hey guys, why does it look like you live in a hotel? That hence our intro today. All your non-cruise videos look like a hotel room. Keep up the great work. Love your channel. And by the way, that's probably our bartender here at the hotel we're at. She's fantastic, and we see her every weekend. Okay, I'm not going to go into the long, drawn out story about our lives, but basically, Kat and I.
We work in Houston. Out of Houston.
Okay, you're skipping way ahead. I'm going to move back a little
Oh
bit.
God, not the whole.
No, I'm not giving. No, I'm giving the abbreviated version.
Oy.
So we both had jobs in corporate America, even though she's Canadian. Well, was you're still Canadian, but now is a U.S. citizen. And we both hated our jobs. I loved my job. We both loved our jobs. We just didn't like some of the extras that went along with it. And she came home one day and said, "I want to quit my job. Well, let's," and I said, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to quit mine." She's like, "Well, let's do something together." And I said, "Sure, honey, what do you want to do?" She's like, "I want to be a commercial truck driver." Now, keep in mind, we weren't kids at this time. This was what, 15 years ago?
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. So, we went to truck driving school and started driving commercial trucks, long distance hauling across the United States. And we did that for I don't know, 7 years, 6 years. And before we started doing that, when we still had our regular jobs, we thought that we would like to live on a sailboat and sail around the world. And I had already had a lot of experience on boats, but she hadn't really had that much. So we went and took uh, ASA, American Sailing Association, courses on a 56-foot sailboat down in Miami. Did that 3 different courses for that, and kind of put that on the back shelf and started then, because we knew we wanted to do it, we just didn't know when. And then she came up with the crazy truck driving idea. So we went to school for that. We quit our jobs. We sold everything we owned and became commercial truck drivers. And within a year, we were driving all over the United States. Went to every single state in the continental US in under 6 months. And we enjoyed it. However, the snow and the weather in the northern states was out of control. And one day we were driving and the truck in front of us got blown over, just poof, in Wyoming. And Kat said, yeah, we need to find another place to drive. So we ended up working for FedEx, for a contractor for FedEx Ground. And we were
Sorry.
we were driving for FedEx for quite a while. We loved the company we work for. We loved our boss, and we made a good chunk of money doing it. And at that point, that was
COVID
COVID
hit.
hit, and we decided what better time to retire. So we bought a 43-foot Endeavor Catch. If you don't know what that is, that means it has two masts, quite a few sails, and it was a blue water sailboat, which means you can sail it around the world. And we bought it and we moved on to the sailboat. And we lived on the sailboat for almost 3 years. And it was a lot of work. And it was more work than we thought. There was a lot of things wrong with it that the inspector didn't catch. And so we decided that we were bored out of our minds and we felt like we were doing more work than we were doing when we were actually working. And it just so happened I talked to our old boss roughly at the same time, and he got a run for out of Houston. And the run goes from Houston to the Arizona California border and back 3 times a week. And we negotiated, and he offered us amazing benefits, pay, and everything, and asked us if we would come back. And we had to pretend, oh, I don't know, the sailing life is just amazing. And we're like, okay, we'll do it. When do you need us? And he's like, in 5 days. So we hopped in our car, uh we saw the sailboat and drove to Houston and started driving. Originally we were only going to do it for a short period of time, but that was 2.5 years ago. Almost, it'll be 3 years in March,
March.
April. Yeah. Part of the agreement is that we got 12 weeks off a year and to do our traveling. And we didn't really focus on cruises until pretty recently. Up before that, we were just going wherever we felt like going, like hopping on a plane and going there. But we really liked Royal Caribbean, and we had a channel, a YouTube channel, for when I was refitting our sailboat, that was pretty popular for the amount of time it was up. And I said, oh, we should do that for travel. And then we started with travel, and that didn't really work. And we posted some cruise videos, and it worked. And next thing you know, we have a cruise channel. So why does it look like we're in a hotel room? It's because every Sunday we get back to Houston Sunday morning. We spend the night in this hotel every Sunday. The staff knows us. It's great. Bartender obviously knows us, hence the email. It was funny when I put this on the list, I didn't even realize it was her. And Kat said, that's the bartender. I'm like, oh. And anyway, and so we do all of our videos here. And what's nice is Galveston is less than an hour drive from here. We just go down to Galveston, and we have a huge hub airport that we can fly in and out of to all the other cruises that we're going to. Anyway, thanks, Avi, for the email. And last email of the podcast. Sean and Kat, your ship tours have been so helpful. I feel like I already know my way around before I even board. I do have a question though. Do you have any tips for making embarkation and disembarkation, isn't okay, as smooth as possible? Debarkation? Dis, de, I don't even know if that's a word. I'm sure it is. My English is horrible. I've heard horror stories about long lines and delays. I'd love to avoid that if I can. Thanks for
Mhm.
everything. Your content is top notch, Tom.
I'd like to avoid them as well. I hate lines.
Okay. Royal Caribbean, on out of all the cruise ships I've been on, is by far the best for getting on the ship. Now, they do times now. Since COVID, you sign up for a time for it to get on the ship, and you show up and you get right on. You'll get to the port, you'll give your luggage to the, what do they call the luggage people?
Porter?
Porters, yes. And assuming you have your passports and everything and the app, you'll walk right on. Unless you're one of those people that gets there like 3 hours before you're supposed to. That being said, you need to get on as soon as you can, and it's what? How many days ahead of time? I don't know.
7?
It'll no, 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 no. It'll tell you. It's I think 30 days.
Oh, is that long?
No, it'll be yeah. I think it's 30 days ahead of time is when you can make your reservation. And what you need to do is do it on your phone on the app. Because if you use the app, so what you do is you figure out ahead of time when you can actually do this. And if you go to Royal Caribbean's webpage for your cruise, for the cruise documents and everything and check in, it'll give you a date. So put it in your phone, and then you need to check in as absolutely as soon as you can to that date. Uh, it opens up midnight ship time. So whatever time is midnight for the ship, and it will tell you on the app also what ship time is. That's when you can do it. So get on as close to when you can for midnight for that day, and go to the check-in and just pick boarding times. You don't have to do the rest of it. Just pick your boarding time. If you do that, if you do it within a day of that, you're going to get the earliest check-in that you can get and show up an hour ahead of time. And you will be one of the first people on the ship, and you will just pretty much walk right on. Now, getting off the ship, either debarkation or disembarkation, whatever one's correct. Um, Here's some hints. Carry your own luggage off. I know if you've got huge bags, it's a real pain, but if you carry your own luggage off, you can leave whenever you want. And that means you can leave the second they open the gangway. If you do that, you'll walk right off the ship. This is hilarious. So when Kat and we just got off of Harmony, we took our two of our daughters and our grandkids, and one of our daughters lost
CPAS.
her set sail card. And so I took the other daughter and the grandkids off while she went and got the set sail card replaced. There was probably a half an hour difference. We walked right off the cruise ship with no line, and Kat
Yeah, it snaked around and around and around.
took
It took us
forever.
forever with
Yeah,
2 little kids. Oh, it was
we probably waited.
torture.
It probably took them a half an hour longer
Yeah.
to get off the ship, which meant they left a half. We waited an hour for them just to get off the ship. So do that. Carry your luggage off and don't check it. The only thing that checking it does, first of all, it's a royal pain because you have to put it out the night before you leave, which means if you accidentally forget to take something out, it's gone. And then all they do is they simply take it from there to inside the terminal. So all you do is you just don't have to haul it down the stairs and then go off the ship. So pack lighter and carry your bags down the stairs or get an elevator. Here's a tip for the elevator. Now, people will hate me for this, but if you need an elevator, push the up button because there won't be anyone on it. Get on the elevator, ride it all the way to the top, and then ride it down to get off the ship because then you'll be have the whole elevator to yourself. Okay, let's wrap this up. So 2025, what are we doing? In January, we're going on a cruise out of LA to Cabo and the western coast of Mexico in the Pacific. February, I'm going on Icon of the Seas with Jim, and I'm doing some pretty cool things. That one actually goes to St. Kitts and Nevis, which uh, isn't as heavily visited by Royal Caribbean, which is nice, and St. Thomas and Coco Cay. And we're doing some pretty interesting things there. And then in April, we're going on Utopia, and that's the 4-day one. So it goes to Coco Cay and the Bahamas. And we're doing VIP stuff on both of those. And then we are going on a Greek Isle cruise. And then over the summer, I think that's in June. And then we are doing a transatlantic crossing on the same ship, but there's a gap in between. And that goes from London, one of the port close to London, to Scotland, to 2 days in Iceland, 2 days in Greenland, 2 days in Nova Scotia, and ends in Boston. And in Nova Scotia, when we're in Halifax, we're actually going to, on the video, take all of you to Peggy's Cove, which is where we were married. And it's where my grandmother's mother grew up. And how many people live in that town? 10?
50, maybe.
50? Yeah,
I don't
it's very, very small. And then after that, we are going to, I'm taking my daughter, one of our daughters, I took her on a cruise for high school graduation out of Puerto Rico, and I'm taking her, she's in her 30s now, on basically the same cruise out of Puerto Rico. And that is in the fall. So is that 6? Did I miss one? I might have missed one. In 2026, we have 2 cruises booked already. One that goes to Antarctica, and one that's a trans-Pacific crossing that goes from Sydney, Australia, all the way across to Hawaii. And it stops in Tahiti. Can't beat it. Thank you all for hanging out with us for this past hour or so. And just keep in mind, if you enjoyed this, we do one of these every Sunday. We do live shows from every cruise ship we go on. We did one just a little while ago that we had a serious mic problem for, but normally we do those from the cruise ship, and we will be doing one in a couple weeks once we're on our way down to Cabo. And we do all sorts of other videos on our channel. So if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, and
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. See you next time.